Okay, so this section of the notes, we're going to talk about the different forms of energy. So here we go. Okay, so we talked about the nature of energy. Basically, is what it is and how it works. Okay? All right, forms of energy. This is not what we have been learning. We have been learning there are 6 forms of energy: heat, chemical, electromagnetic, nuclear, mechanical, and sound. We added sound to this category. Okay, so heat energy, which is what we've been calling thermal energy. Thermal energy, the internal motion of the atoms, is called heat energy because moving particles produce heat. So the internal motion of the atoms, heat energy because moving particles produce heat. Heat energy can be produced by friction. So when those atoms move together, it creates friction. The heat energy causes changes in temperature and phase of any form of matter. If you remember, phase is talking about solid, liquid, or gas. So when you change the temperature, you can change if something's in a solid or a liquid. So if you think about it, when you have an ice cube and you heat it up, it turns into a liquid. Maybe I change screens. Okay, so the next thing that we have here is chemical energy. Chemical energy is required to bond atoms together. Bond means basically stick things together. When the bonds are broken, energy is released. This can be as simple as the food you eat getting broken down, or this can be explosives. Okay. Chemical energy, fuel and food are forms of stored chemical energy. Keyword here is stored. Oops. Electromagnetic energy. Power lines carry electromagnetic energy into your home in the form of electricity. So electricity is a form of electromagnetic energy. Now there's more than one. Electromagnetic energy can also be in the form of light. So we have light and we have electricity. Each color of light represents a different amount of electromagnetic energy. That's something that we'll get to talking to here in a little bit. Electromagnetic can also be carried by X-rays, radio waves, and laser light. So when we're talking about electromagnetic energy, we could be talking about electricity, we could be talking about light, we could be talking about X-rays, radio waves, laser light. We could also be talking about microwaves. Not the appliance, the microwave, but the waves that it produces. Okay, nuclear energy. The source of nuclear energy is the nucleus of an atom. Now remember, here is an atom. You have electrons, you have protons, and you have neutrons. Here in the center is the nucleus. Now, in an atom, the nucleus means just the center. If you're talking about a cell, then sometimes we call a cell the control center or the brain. That's in a living thing. An atom is not living. So the nucleus is not the brain. A brain implies that you're making choices and you have thoughts. An atom doesn't do those things. Okay, so when the nucleus of an atom splits, which is called fission, nuclear energy is released. There is a ton of energy stored that holds those protons and neutrons together. Okay, and when it's released, it's in the form of energy, heat energy, and light energy. Okay, nuclear energy can also be released when you have nuclei. The word nuclei here means two nucleuses. It's the plural form. So nuclei means you have more than one. When you have nuclei colliding at high speeds. Now remember, when you see the word collide, it implies force. So it's not just that things are sitting next to each other or gently get stuck together. The word collide implies violence. So they are like slammed together. Okay, so it's very forceful. So they're slammed together at high speeds and they join. That is called fuse. Sometimes when you're looking at nuclear energy, you'll hear them talking about fission, which is splitting the nucleus, and fusion, which is sticking them together. Okay, so our sun has lots of energy that is produced from nuclear fusion. Okay, so nuclear fusion is when you have hydrogen, in this case, you have hydrogen nuclei, so the centers of a whole bunch of hydrogen atoms are colliding, so they're slamming together to form helium nuclei. Okay, remember, fusion means joining. All that energy of those creates the sun. So that's really all the sun is a bunch, this big thing that we see in the sky and that provides warmth to give us life on this planet is possible because there's a whole bunch of hydrogen nuclei slamming together, and this is the energy that's produced. Nuclear energy is the most concentrated form of energy. There's tons and tons of energy within these nuclear bombs. Okay, there are quite a few nuclear power plants that actually is a very good source of energy. However, it's kind of dangerous, and you have the toxic waste produced from a nuclear power plant. Okay, then we have mechanical energy. Mechanical energy is when work is done to an object, it acquires energy. Mechanical energy is also basically energy of movement, because if you remember us talking about work, in order to do work, you have to cause something to move. Okay, so here we go. Mechanical energy. Okay, so for example, here you have a football player kicking a football. When you kick a football, you give mechanical energy to the football to make it move. When you cause this to move, as it's moving, you now have mechanical energy. There's also mechanical energy in your leg because your leg is moving. When you throw a bowling ball, you are again giving it energy. When the bowling ball hits the pin, some of the energy is transferred to the pins, which is technically called transfer of momentum. So you have mechanical energy moving the ball. It goes down the lanes, it hits the bowling pins, the pins start moving, so they have mechanical energy. Okay, and we're going to stop right here. So this is all about the forms of energy.